With the US election just days away, Gen Z voters are more divided than ever. They may be the most connected generation in history, but how connected are they to US politics? Some seem to be disillusioned, with many still undecided just days before America heads to the polls. So why is this? What do they want from their new president, and will they stick to traditions or embrace change? I'm Yasmin Bodalbhai, and this is What You Need to Know. Hello and welcome to today's episode of What You Need to Know. I'm joined by our reporter Sam Leader, who has just returned from a road trip across the USA. So Sam, you toured right across, you got a real sense of what young voters are feeling. What have you brought back with you? What do you think about Gen Z?
Do you know, I thought I would come back with a clear kind of answer. I knew that it was going to be very divided, but I didn't realise how divided it was going to be, because you go right from a scale of completely disillusioned by this election, where they are not going to vote for anyone, to the really staunchly political, and they are complete for Harris all the way, or they're for Trump all the way. I thought there would be a kind of it would either be Trump or Harris would be the question, but I actually found that there was such a variety of opinions and more people who aren't going to vote at all, actually, which was probably the thing that I came back most surprised about, I would say. OK, so historically, younger generations have played a large role in shaping politics. You know, I'm thinking about things like the Civil Rights Campaign, the student Vietnam War protests, climate change protests. But what I'm hearing from you today is perhaps not everybody is so engaged. Is that right? Yeah, I went into it, you know, driving from New York to Pennsylvania, I was thinking about how I was going to approach this whole kind of piece, I guess. And you look at so many examples from history, even, you know, you said a couple there, but even like the 26th Amendment, where younger voters, you know, campaigned for the right to vote at that age. I thought there would be the same kind of passion and, you know, fire for like what the future of America is going to be, because this generation is going to, you know, deal with the consequences of whether it's Trump or Harris. And so it was kind of, I guess, interesting to see that actually, while you do have those who are really engaged, you also have those who just want their lives to change, just want, you know, a difference in their neighbourhood, as opposed to, you know, these big cultural shifts. So there was a real, you know, there was energy for it, but not as much as I was expecting. And what were they particularly divided about, and what seems to be mattering most to people? There's a number of issues. I mean, you know, the core issues matter to, I think, all voters. You look at reproductive rights, democracy, economy, obviously matters to any age voter. But I think there was a real gender divide in this kind of younger generation. Statistically as well, like it looks as if that more female voters will sway towards Harris, and more male voters are more likely to vote for Trump. So that was the I would say, another huge thing that I came away with. There was a big gender divide. OK, so let's kind of drill down into the gender divide a bit. You went to various campuses to explore this, and what did you find when you went there? Yeah, so I went to a couple of different events. I think that the main campus that I went to where I saw it was Penn State in State College in Pennsylvania. And I went to two separate events. One was a Turning Point Action event, which is a very much Republican-leaning event. The other was a Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was speaking at a Democrat rally, or AOC, as most people know her. And the difference was vast. You know, a lot more male voters at the Republican event, you know, speaking broadly, and a lot more female voters at the Democrat event. Male voters very much keen on kind of the economy and democracy, I would say, and the female voters more into sort of definitely reproductive rights and kind of cultural issues as well. But I think we can hear from a couple of the people that I spoke to there.
I think Gen Z men find it to fit in. They need to support the male candidate instead of the woman.
I think maybe you know, the right-wing media is perhaps feeding on their insecurities, perhaps, of being a young male or something. I don't know.
And another key campus you visited was Penn State Uni. What did you find there from the voters? Yeah, so it was just a very complex situation. What I was finding was
a lot of younger voters sort of who had just gone to college, so 18, 19, I was just interested in who was kind of influencing their vote. One person told me that Andrew Tate was influencing his vote, towards Trump. And they were quite hung up on this masculine kind of idea of Trump, I guess. He's that masculine person who can, I guess in a generation like Gen Z, you've got social media, and it's I think what I could tell was a lot of young men don't really know where they sit anymore. They were telling me, with the rise of feminism and various movements, they don't really know where they sit in society anymore. And I think they see Trump as almost like a figurehead. That was like kind of their main priority in terms of voting for Trump, really, which was a really interesting takeaway.
It's very interesting, and I think we can have a quick listen to some of those voters now.
I feel like everyone kind of feels that the system's rigged, that our government system, there's a lot of problems with it, and he's willing to actually admit that, yeah, there's problems with it and people abuse the system.
When I talk to woke people, they all feel like they're in an echo chamber saying the same talking points, and when you try to ask them questions, it's always a shutdown, not having a conversation about it. If that's what it means to be woke, I'm not woke.
A lot of younger Republican students are starting to find their voice and actually talk. I think before, they didn't care enough to go out and vocalize their issues, but I think now it's becoming a lot more vocal.
It's access to health care, it's gun rights, it's abortion, it's a lot of different things going into this for me, so yeah.
To me, Kamala is standing up for democracy and standing up for rights and the Constitution, and I believe Trump isn't standing up for that.
It's very interesting, isn't it? And another issue, which of course is on the minds of many people, is what's going on in the Middle East. How much is that influencing people's vote?
Yeah, it was a, I went, I think it was to 3 college campuses, but I also heard it off campus as well. The word genocide used in terms of why they weren't voting. That was their motivation for not voting. Obviously, a word that is strongly condemned by Israel. They told me that they felt like the situation hadn't been handled well enough by Biden. And they didn't feel like they could put their vote to either side, especially at University of Michigan, where there was a big encampment over the summer when there were student protests. They were very kind of strong. I spoke to one young guy who was at the encampment and had actually been pepper sprayed there, and he allegedly said that there was police brutality there and things like that. He said that he would usually vote Democrat, but because of the situation and how he doesn't feel like the government had handled the situation between Israel and Palestine well enough, he wasn't going to put his vote to either. He said he was going to, he wasn't going to vote at the top of the ballot. He wasn't going to pick Kamala or Donald Trump. So it came up time and time again. Obviously very divisive amongst students, but it's definitely at the top of their list when they're voting this
and
year. It's very
interesting how it's not causing them to vote for one person, it's just causing them not to vote
at all.
Yeah,
and there's actually a movement which called the Uncommitted Movement, which is basically, I guess you could say they were formerly Democrats. It's really big in Michigan, actually, formerly Democrats, but are now not voting at all. They've sort of come together and don't feel like they can put their vote to the Democrats, so feel like they've found a place within the cultural landscape, I guess.
Yeah, okay. Now, abortion rights, I mean, this has just been massive, hasn't it? This has been a massive part of this campaign.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, that is where abortion rights and reproductive rights is where Kamala Harris, one of the only areas actually that Kamala Harris is leading in, not just in Gen Z, but across the whole sort of landscape.
Yeah.
But specifically in Gen Z, I spoke to two vastly different interviews. A young pro-choice, she calls herself pro-abortion, is how she wanted to be described, but pro-choice activist on campus at Michigan State. And it was really interesting because we went to a clinic that was just 5 minutes away from the university. And you think if you're on campus, you wouldn't see as much of a divide, but there were still protesters that stood there all day. and she was we were handed this piece of paper that was talking about abortion pill reversal, and I sort of said to her, no matter your stance on this, if you're walking past these protesters, it must be a really difficult thing to walk past and do, really difficult to go there. And this was on campus. She said that Trump would be she can't even imagine a world where Trump was president. She thinks that there would be a nationwide abortion ban, which was her opinion. Other side of that, just an hour away, I went to Detroit and spoke to a group called the Progressive Anti-Abortion Movement, I believe it is. Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising. And the reason they're interesting is because they call themselves progressive. A lot of the Democrats I spoke to would say it wasn't progressive to be anti-abortion. They were pro-trans rights, they called themselves left-leaning feminists, but they were anti-abortion. And they weren't voting for Kamala or Trump. So they didn't even think Trump was going to do anything, to get rid of clinics in the US. They were very strong on that, which was interesting to see that even on the other side of the argument, they don't agree. They can't see a candidate. So there was much more undecided voters, even within these tiny divisive issues, than you could even imagine.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that, actually. Okay, so you've had this amazing insight into students and the campuses. It's extraordinary. But you also spent some time with Trump's biggest fans, known as the Maga Boys.
Yes.
Tell us about your experience with them.
Yeah, so it was really, they picked me up from their hotel, and from my hotel, and they've become like VIPs because they have basically been following Trump around the country. The reason I wanted to speak to them was because they call themselves the MAGA meme pack. So it was kind of about how they're using social media to target younger voters. So what I really wanted to find out was how I guess younger males were being influenced by social media, which is what they're doing. I think we can listen to the first thing they said to me as I got into the car. Do you think you'd see the same as what happened at the Capitol? Like this time around?
That was staged.
Yeah.
That was staged?
That was 100%.
Man.
I mean, it's already been proved.
There's no real evidence to that statement.
I'm holding back.
I went to a Turning Point action event and it was very young men.
Yeah.
There weren't many young women.
Right.
So why do you think that the Democrats seem to have lost that young male
The whole
vote?
abortion thing.
Really?
So because the news just pushes, they're like, Donald Trump's trying to take your right to having an abortion.
Pretty much all mainstream media. It's all.
Yeah, they're pushing it down the throats of the women. They're like, he's taking your rights away. He's telling you what you can and can't do. Evil, bad man. You know what I mean? Hate this man. So it's just like, oh my God, it's nauseating. But now, a lot of people are like, thank God with Elon Musk with X. Now they're like, well, no, that's not what it says, and that's not what the bill's designed for.
So obviously at the beginning there, I was bombarded with conspiracies. There is no evidence really to the storming of the Capitol being staged. But besides that, the points they made were quite interesting. That Trump is this male figurehead still, and the importance of social media within that. Memes have such a powerful... You see memes on both sides. You see memes for Kamala Harris. You see memes against Kamala Harris, the same for Trump. They've become almost a way of promoting or dissing the other side in a way. And they kind of summed up the whole journey, I guess, that there's huge passion on both sides. And I think what all young voters are trying to do is just trying to find a common ground, I guess, trying to find somewhere where they feel they can all agree, which is never going to happen. But the way that social media comes into this, they're all sort of just, jarring along together, trying to influence each other's vote. And the Maga Boys really sort of taught me that the importance of social media, I would say.
So interesting. All right, just to sum up then, it's been amazing, by the way, talking to you about this. So this generation of voters, of course, makes up part of the pollsters. Mm-hmm. How much does their vote count? How loud are they? If you see what I'm saying, don't you?
Loud.
They're loud.
Yeah, they're loud. And also, I mean, obviously I went to 2 swing states, so their vote, in a way, is even more important, I guess you could say, because they could really sway the vote. They are the generation, or I am Gen Z, so I guess we're the generation that are trying to, as I said earlier, trying to find that kind of place between woke and anti-woke, and accepted and not accepted, social media or no social media. There's so many debates, and in this one, they just want to find something where a person in office fits their way of thinking, and that's so important for them. And I think they are trying to echo that, and you can see that from passion to no passion. They just want, as I said at the beginning, they just want change in their current circumstances, whether that be economy, whether that be reproductive rights, whatever issue you take. So I think, when it comes to election night, we're really going to see, what way Gen Z went with this election. Fascinating.
And also what's fascinating is just this different way of getting engaged in politics. It's all changing, isn't it?
Exactly.
Amazing. What a road trip.
I know.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. For more on this, head over to our website or ITVX, or you can watch Sam's full investigation on YouTube. Do have a look back through our other quick briefings on a range of headline topics to find out what you need to know. Until next time, thank you for listening.